So I took the Z900 out to run some errands, and I finally hit the 600-mile mark. So I'm going to do my first service here in my garage, starting with my oil change. Alright, so I've got my oil pan, oil filter wrench, brand new jug of synthetic Mobil 1 10W40 oil, my Z900 owner's manual, and a brand new K&N oil filter for my bike. So it looks like 17 millimeter is the correct size for the drain plug. You just crack it first. Pan under there. Wasn't expecting it to come out that quick. Looks like I've got a little cleanup to do now. Fortunately, I found that degreaser takes oil stains out of concrete pretty well. So let that drain for a minute. Alright, so I stood it vertical and rocked it back and forth just a little bit, just to make sure that all the oil that's hiding out in some little low pocket or something like that had a chance to come out. Got a little bit more oil out, and then I put the drain plug back in. Now I've scooted the pan over, and I'm going to use an oil filter wrench to take off the old oil filter. There should be a little bit more oil that comes out. And you only use these to remove oil filters, not put them on, because they will crush, misshape, and damage the oil filter. But that's okay when it's coming off, because you're not going to use it anymore. That's quite a bit of oil coming out of there. On my Harley, it was usually maybe about a quarter of what just came out of there. And it looks like the new K&N filter does indeed match the same size, both in outer diameter and the inner threads. This is a K&N 303 for anybody that's having trouble finding it. Alright, so I stood the bike vertical again, and I rocked it side to side, front to back, and I got the last remaining oil out of there. And now what you have to do is take your brand new filter, and you have to put just a little bit of oil inside of it to get that filter element soaked with oil, saturated. That way, when you start the bike up for the first time, it's not trying to force the oil through a dry filter. Absorb that pretty quick. Let me put a little bit more. See, put your oil in there and then just kind of rotate it around. Let it work its way in to that filter element. I think that's pretty well done now. A little bit of standing oil still sitting in the center, but it's not disappearing. It's not getting sucked into the element like it was before. And then what you need to do, take your finger, clean finger, dip it in the oil that's here at the top from pouring it in, and then just run it around this rubber gasket. I've already spilled enough today, so just get it on there. Work kind of quick in case it does want to run out. And just thread it on. Now it's important when you're putting it back on not to use any kind of tools or anything like that that are going to crush it, deform it, mess up the seal between the filter and the motor. You want to go tight. You want to go hand tight, so it doesn't leak. But you don't want to put a wrench on it. And then what I'll do, see, I can still get a little bit of a turn on there. And I'm not giving it everything I've got, but I'm applying force. All right, so the manual says when the filter is removed that it will take 3.8 quarts, so almost 4 quarts. So I'm just gonna pour in about 3.5, stand it vertical, and then check the window, see where it's coming to, and go a little bit by a little bit until I've got it right between those two fill lines, the low and the high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just stand the bike up gently and see what happens in the fill window. There it is, a little bit of oil. Put just a tad more. And then I'm gonna rock it around forward and back, side to side, and make sure that all those little low areas, wherever they might be in the motor, that I got that old oil out of, make sure those are all filled up. Because if you put too much, you can always drain a little bit out. But if you don't put enough, you might be in some trouble. Make sure when you're putting your plugs back in that you've got your gaskets. On the drain plug there's a metal washer type gasket, and then on the fill plug here you've got a little rubber gasket. Just make sure you use your front brake. That'll keep it from rolling. And check the fill line. And it looks good. just a peek under here and make sure that the filter and the drain plug are not leaking, and it looks like they're not. I don't see any drips on the paper, and I don't see any drips hanging off the bottom. So what I'll do tonight, just to be sure, just to be careful, is when I park it in the garage, I'll put paper underneath, and when I come back out in the morning, I'll check and see if there's any dripping, but I don't think there will be. Alright, so let's go through the rest of the list here. 600 miles, we need to check the idle speed and the throttle control. Idle sounds good. And check the throttle. Feels good, no drag. Now we're supposed to check the coolant level. And your coolant reservoir is down here, tucked away inside there. And I'll try to focus. You can see that the coolant line is under the max but above the minimum, so that's good. And my temperature gauge has been reading fine. The engine has not been getting overheated while I'm riding it. Clutch operation still feels good, doesn't feel like it's gotten loose. Front brake works just fine. Rear brake, that works just fine. Front brake, rear brake, everything looks good. Rotors look good, they feel smooth, no gouging or uneven wear. Pads have plenty of life in them. Everything looks clean, no fluid leaking out. Banjo bolts still in the same spot that they were in from the factory. You can see a little white daub of paint that they put on there to mark those. And then here's the rear brake fluid reservoir. That looks good. Front brake, nice and full. And then the front brake pads, so we got two rotors, both of them nice and smooth, no gouging or anything like that. Pads look just fine, lots of life left. And then over on this rotor, same thing. Take a look at the chain down here. I haven't been riding it in any kind of bad weather, no rain or anything like that. Everything looks good. Minimal play. Sprocket looks good. Everything still feels well lubed. Maybe in a few more miles I'll clean it and re-lube it, but right now I don't think it needs it.